The New York Times opinion guest essay, The Window to Meaningfully Support Separated Immigrant Families is Closing, by Kelly Albinak Kribs. Ms. Kribs is a lawyer who served as the federally appointed child advocate for separated immigrant children in 2018, November 30th, 2023. Last month, the federal government announced a proposed settlement agreement in the class action lawsuit brought by the American Civil Liberties Union on behalf of immigrant parents who were wrongfully separated from their children at the border under the Trump administration's zero tolerance policy. On December 8th, the federal court will hold a hearing and consider whether it should grant final approval of the settlement. If approved, the settlement would provide families with some temporary benefits, such as work authorization, short-term housing, medical assistance, including behavioral health services. It also would provide them with an opportunity to apply for permanent immigration status through the asylum system. While it will not provide a lawyer to represent them, it will offer immigration legal services like a help desk to offer counseling to help complete forms and make referrals to attorneys who might take a case pro bono. And for the next 8 years, it would bar separation in most instances where families are apprehended at the border. But as a whole, the proposed settlement falls far short of our government's moral obligation to meaningfully redress the harm inflicted on more than 5,000 children and their parents. The government's short-term and permanent relief denies families the stability and support they deserve as they piece their lives back together. Instead, the federal government should and can still provide separated families with permanent immigration status, monetary damages, and accountability for the harm they continue to endure. Justice for separated families must include permanent immigration status in this country so that families can focus on rebuilding their lives without the looming fear of deportation to dangerous circumstances. For the thousands of families that have been reunited to date, their familial chemistry has been forever altered by the trauma of an abrupt, forced separation. The process of repairing ruptured bonds between parent and child will require time, effort, and supportive services. Many parents were deported while their children remained in the United States, often raised by family members. Now, as the Biden administration works to bring deported parents back, they are returning to children who have adjusted English-speaking schools, built bonds with different caregivers, and acclimated an American lifestyle. In some cases, these differences have prevented parents from resuming their role as their child's primary caregiver. While reunification can bring joy, parents cannot escape the heartbreak of the years they lost with their children. One mother, struck by her son's newfound facial hair, told me that the government took her boy from her and returned to her a man. While the government's proposed settlement offers temporary status and a new opportunity to file for asylum, it will not provide them with legal representation. In other words, reunifying families will still have to navigate the complexities of asylum law on their own before a federal agency that in fiscal year 2022 granted only 22% of the asylum claims it heard. The government could and should also monetarily compensate families. No parents I know would trade years of family memories or their child's health for a dollar amount, but at least it would be a partial admission of government responsibility for these horrors. The money could also offer a practical source of support to the families that are struggling to make financial ends meet while navigating the aftermath of family separation. For many families, that includes long-term effects of trauma. In 2018, child health experts were quick to criticize the family separation policy because of the undeniable negative impact on children's mental health and long-term development. I worked with an 11-year-old separated child who was reunified with his father in July 2018 after 4 months. Even now, the child wakes up in the middle of the night in a panic. Their family is, in his father's words, forever marked. In December 2021, after months of talks, the Biden administration withdrew from negotiations that would have offered compensation to thousands of families forcibly separated under the policy. Cases have continued to be litigated by individual families, but the Justice Department continues to fight these legal claims tooth and nail and has even defended the Trump administration's actions in court filings in most of those cases. The family separation policy was intentionally designed to inflict harm on children. It is a profound stain on our nation's history, and yet no one responsible for implementing this policy had been held accountable in any public way. It is not too late to get this right. Congress should step in to create permanent immigration status for separated parents and children, or at a minimum to allocate funds to provide full legal representation for every separated family that applies for asylum under the settlement. The Biden administration must stop defending in court a policy it publicly denounces and return to settlement negotiations in the monetary damages lawsuit. And for those of us who were incensed by family separation 5 years ago, we must continue to demand that our government officials offer more significant recompensations and accountability for these families. Until that happens, our failure to meaningfully redress the harms of family separation will remain almost as shameful as the original policy itself. This is the end of, he's the co-director of the Technical Assistant Program at the Young Center for Immigrant Children's Rights. Thank you.